Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Facing the gazes of so many people, Feng Tianwu's expression remained unchanged as she continued chatting and laughing with Duan Lingtian. Who is that purple-clothed kid? I've seen him. 9 days ago, right here, he beat Feng Hao and Yixiang into pig heads. It was after that Feng Hao was killed by Miss Tianwu. It seems that his strength is not weak. A group of Feng family members were discussing this, and many of the male members looked at Duan Lingtian with envy. How they wished they were the ones chatting and laughing with Miss Tianwu. At this moment, they wished they could replace Duan Lingtian. Tianwu, it seems you have great charm. Duan Lingtian laughed. Brother Duan, you're making fun of me again. Feng Tianwu blushed slightly and said angrily. This scene made many male members of the Feng family stunned. They felt that the woman in red before them was like a fairy who had descended from the sky to the mortal world. Are you Feng Tianwu? Suddenly, a somewhat neutral voice came from afar. Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu stopped almost at the same time and looked towards the source of the sound. In the distance, a young man in green clothes was walking towards them. Duan Lingtian frowned. He could sense the young man's hostility towards Tianwu. The young man walked slowly over and stood in front of Feng Tianwu, gazing at her calmly with a calm expression, as if he were a piece of rotten wood that didn't understand romance. Who are you? Feng Tianwu asked calmly. Feng Yunfei, the young man said bluntly. At this moment, Duan Lingtian heard a series of whispers. It's Master Yunfei. What is he going to do? From the words of a group of Feng family members, Duan Lingtian realized that this young man had an extraordinary status in the Feng family. Otherwise, why would so many people call him young master? What's up? Seeing that Feng Yunfei didn't look at her with that annoying look, Feng Tianwu's tone softened a little. Feng Tianwu, I want to challenge you. Do you dare to fight me? Feng Yunfei asked in a deep voice. Challenge. When Feng Yunfei said this, everyone around him, including Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu, was stunned. Why? Feng Tianwu frowned and asked. Feng Yunfei took a deep breath and said, for tomorrow's dynasty martial competition, the Feng family can nominate 2 people to participate. One of the spots is reserved for Feng Yunxiang. I don't think I'm as good as him, but that's okay. But why do you have the right to occupy the other spot? Just because you are my only daughter. As he spoke, Feng Yunfei's tone was filled with resentment. Wow. Feng Yunfei's words were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples, leaving the group of Feng family members watching stunned and suddenly realizing what was going on. No wonder I heard earlier that young Master Yunfei missed out on the 2 spots our Feng family had in the dynasty martial arts competition. I was wondering, among the younger generation of our Feng family, besides young Master Yunxiang, young Master Yunfei is the strongest. Who could have snatched his spot? Turns out it was Miss Tianwu who took it. Although Miss Tianwu is quite powerful, she's probably no match for young Master Yunfei, right? It's said that young Master Yunfei broke through to the 7th level of the Void Realm some time ago. Master Yunfei challenged Miss Tianwu in order to take back the spot that originally belonged to him. Many Feng family members speculated 2 places. Hearing the discussion among the Feng family members, Duan Lingtian could not help but be stunned. The Feng family, as the most powerful family in the Han Dynasty second only to the royal family, only has 2 nomination spots in the dynasty martial arts competition. You know, even the major empires have 10 places each. Miss Tianwu, do you dare to fight me? If you win, I will obey all your requests. But if I win by chance, you must give me your place. Feng Yunfei looked towards Feng Tianwu, his eyes filled with awe-inspiring fighting spirit. In his eyes, Feng Tianwu did not seem to be a beauty with stunning beauty, but an ordinary opponent. He would not hold back because of her beautiful appearance. The 7th level of the Void Realm. Duan Lingtian's mental power immediately extended to Feng Yunfei and detected his cultivation level. As some of the Feng family members said, Feng Yunfei is a 7th level warrior in the Void Realm. I don't know if Miss Tianwu will agree. Even if Miss Tianwu doesn't agree, Master Yunfei can't do anything. After all, Miss Tianwu is my only daughter. If I were Miss Tianwu, I would definitely ignore Master Yunfei. A group of Feng family members were talking among themselves while looking at Feng Tianwu curiously. Many people think that Feng Tianwu will not agree. In their opinion, Feng Tianwu, although she was the only daughter of the most respected master in their Feng family, was still too young after all, and she was still a girl. Feng Yunfei is at least 10 years older than Feng Tianwu. They didn't think Feng Tianwu could be Feng Yunfei's opponent. I can agree to this, but forget about the request. I don't think you're that annoying. If I defeat you, you can just leave. Feng Tianwu's decision was beyond the expectations of everyone present except Duan Lingtian. No one, including Feng Yunfei, thought that Feng Tianwu would actually agree, especially Feng Yunfei. Originally, he had come to Feng Tianwu today with the idea of try everything possible, and he had never thought that Feng Tianwu would accept his challenge. Now, the opportunity is right in front of him, making him excited. Although his defeat of Feng Tianwu might make the master of their Feng family unhappy, he couldn't care less. He wanted to participate in the Dynasty Martial Arts competition and compete with the young talents of the Han Dynasty and the young talents of various empires. He also wanted to qualify to participate in the 10 Dynasties Martial Arts competition. Although the chances are slim, that is what he pursues. Thank you, Miss Tianwu, for your help. Feng Yunfei took a deep breath, took a few steps back, and confronted Feng Tianwu. Brother Duan, wait for me for a while. Feng Tianwu looked at Duan Lingtian beside her and smiled slightly. Duan Lingtian nodded and stood aside, watching the scene in front of him calmly. This Feng Yunfei is a warrior at the 7th level of the Void Realm, and Tianwu is also a warrior at the 7th level of the Void Realm. The gap between the two can only be reflected in the artistic conception. Ms. Tianwu, how about you both not using spiritual weapons in this competition? Feng Yunfei asked tentatively. The reason he made this decision was because he felt a little guilty, because he only had a 5th grade spiritual weapon in his hand and no 4th grade spiritual weapon. The woman in front of him, as the only daughter of the patriarch of their Feng family, must have a 4th grade spiritual weapon. He had no doubt about this. Although he didn't think the woman could surpass him in cultivation and understanding of artistic conception, he still decided to be cautious. After all, this concerns whether he can get a place to participate in the Dynasty Martial Arts competition. Feng Tianwu nodded slightly, her pretty face unchanged, and she had no objection to Feng Yunfei's decision. This Feng Yunfei is quite cautious. Duan Lingtian thought secretly, Ms. Tianwu, be careful. Seeing Feng Tianwu agreed, Feng Yunfei's eyes flashed, and he shouted loudly, and the whole person rushed out like an eagle, grabbing with his hands like a pair of sharp eagle claws, with Yuanli raging and jumping in them. Wow! Suddenly, in the void above Feng Yunfei's head, the shadows of 10 ancient horned dragons appeared, then flew out and swept towards Feng Tianwu with great momentum. Not only that, a trace of green energy suddenly spread between the energy in Feng Yunfei's claws, revealing a strange aura. Artistic conception. The artistic conception of wind. At this time, Feng Yunfei also arrived near Feng Tianwu. He suddenly grabbed out with his claws, and 2 condensed claw marks whizzed out, surrounded by dense wind blades. Wow! 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 After a moment, the wind blades around the claw mark instantly dispersed, falling towards Feng Tianwu like a rain of flowers. Every wind blade that tore through the air created a sharp sound. Whoosh! Whoosh! The most important thing is that in this sky full of wind blades, 2 condensed claw marks swept out, putting Feng Tianwu in danger. At this moment, 6 more phantoms of ancient horned dragons appeared in the void above Feng Yunfei's head. Obviously, he understood the 6-fold realm of wind. Seeing his attack sweeping towards Feng Tianwu like an overwhelming force, Feng Yunfei smiled, as if he had already seen the scene of Feng Tianwu being defeated by him. A group of Feng family members who were watching couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for Feng Tianwu. The atmosphere now is eerily quiet. The artistic conception of the 6-fold wind. Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched slightly. Initially, he was a little worried that Feng Yunfei's understanding of the wind realm would be very strong. But when he saw that Feng Yunfei had only comprehended the 6th level of wind realm, he was completely relieved. Although, he didn't know what level Tianwu's state of fire had reached now. But Tianwu is the owner of the fire spirit body, after all, and the speed at which she comprehends the artistic realm of fire is beyond the reach of ordinary people. He could confirm this through the memories of the reincarnation emperor. Facing Feng Yunfei's overwhelming attack, Feng Tianwu's expression remained unchanged, and her red dress fluttered gently. Call. The next moment, everyone could see that Feng Tianwu's Yuanli was turbulent, like a ball of white flame enveloping her. Immediately afterwards, wisps of deep crimson energy appeared in the white flame, dyeing the white flame half red and half white, which was very strange. Destroy. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Feng Tianwu's cherry lips moved slightly, and she uttered a word slowly. Then, everyone saw Feng Tianwu moving. Feng Tianwu raised her hand, and a half-red, half-white flame swept out and bloomed in the air, as if it had turned into a swift shooting star. For a moment, half the sky was covered by red and white meteors. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A meteor broke through the sky, whistling out. Meteors streaked across the sky, as if they had eyes, and collided one by one with the wind blades sweeping across the sky. Not only that, there were also 2 huge meteors that flew straight out and met the 2 condensed claw marks of Feng Yunfei. Feng Yunfei's 2 claw marks are also the strongest among his attacks. Boom, 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 boom. In the void, meteors formed by the interweaving of red or white elemental energy and the artistic conception of fire constantly collided with the wind blades and exploded with a loud bang. After the explosion, it turned into a bunch of dazzling fireworks, attracting everyone's attention. Soon, the people present saw it again. Feng Tianwu's attack crushed Feng Yunfei's attack like a rotten wood, and she rushed out without slowing down. After a while, the meteors in the sky swept towards one place and gathered together again to form a sharp sword, which was placed across Feng Yunfei's throat. The sword just hovered there. Just one move and Feng Yunfei would die tragically on the spot. I lost. Feeling the chill in his throat, Feng Yunfei's face turned pale and his legs felt like they were filled with lead, making it difficult for him to move at all. In the distance, above the head of the red-clothed woman, the power of 18 ancient horned dragons was hovering in the void, dancing continuously, looking lifelike. Enter the 7th level of the void realm. The artistic conception of 8 fires. This is the strength of the opponent he is facing now. Just now, he thought about dodging, but the opponent's strength was so strong that he had nowhere to hide. For the first time in his life, he felt an extreme sense of powerlessness and frustration deep in his heart. He had never felt this kind of frustration even when he faced Feng Yunxiang, the strongest young man of the Feng family. He did not deny that Feng Yunxiang was better than him. But Feng Yunxiang is about the same age as him after all, and not much stronger. And the woman in red before him seemed to be more than 10 years younger than him. Such a young woman, with such strength, made him feel like he had been living like a dog all these years. Wow. At the same time, the group of Feng family members who were watching were completely excited. Sky. Are they seeing things? One move. With just one move, Feng Tianwu defeated Feng Yunfei? The scene before them was too incredible for them to believe. Some even wondered if they were dreaming. However, when they stretched out their hands to pinch their thighs, the pain from their thighs told them. They are not dreaming. Everything they saw was real. A young woman who looked to be less than 25 years old defeated Feng Yunfei, the second strongest young man of their Feng family. Miss Tianwu is worthy of being my daughter. She has inherited my talent. How terrifying. Even when I was this old, I wasn't as good as Miss Tianwu, right? I thought Miss Tianwu was going to lose to young Master Yunfei, but I didn't expect that Miss Tianwu would defeat young Master Yunfei. with just one move. Miss Tianwu is not only a 7th-level warrior in the Void Realm, but has also comprehended the 8-fold realm of fire. Her comprehension is even more extraordinary than her natural talent. The group of Feng family members who were watching were talking about it for a long time. Their eyes were filled with passion and admiration. Feng Tianwu's strength impressed them. Call. The sharp sword that Feng Tianwu's Yuanli, which was entangled with the state of fire, was pressing against the side of Feng Yunfei's throat, gradually dissipated and disappeared into the void. It's as if it never appeared. Then she glanced at Feng Yunfei indifferently and ignored him. Brother Lingtian, let's go back. When Feng Tianwu's gaze shifted to Duan Lingtian, a genuine smile blossomed on her face, leaving many male members of the Feng family stunned. Duan Lingtian came back to his senses after hearing the voice. Feng Tianwu's method just now was also beyond his expectations. Although he was mentally prepared and felt that Feng Tianwu, as the owner of the fire spirit body, would have a high level of understanding of the state of mind of fire. But he didn't expect it. Feng Tianwu's state of mind of fire had actually reached the 8th level. It's no wonder the possessor of the fire spirit body is also known as the darling of fire. If he weren't the darling of fire, how could he have comprehended the 8-fold realm of fire at such a young age without the aid of the realm of realm fragments? Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. Seeing the backs of Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu disappear before their eyes, the group of Feng family members, including Feng Yunfei, finally came to their senses. No wonder, besides young Master Yunxiang, the other spot was given to Miss Tianwu. Miss Tianwu's strength is indeed stronger than young Master Yunfei, much stronger. Yes, with Miss Tianwu's strength, even if she were to compete with young Master Yunxiang, I'm afraid it would be hard to tell who is better. If they don't use spiritual weapons, it's really hard to tell who's better. But once they do, young Master Yunxiang should still be the better choice. After all, young Master Yunxiang is already an 8th stage Void Realm warrior and has a strong foundation in Yuanli. Furthermore, young Master Yunxiang has also comprehended the 7th stage Sword Realm. That's true. However, in terms of age, Miss Tianwu can't compare to young Master Yunxiang. When Miss Tianwu is the same age as young Master Yunxiang, I'm afraid young Master Yunxiang won't even be worthy of carrying Miss Tianwu's shoes. Yes, Miss Tianwu is still young and has great potential to be discovered. As expected of the daughter of our Feng family's master, she is truly extraordinary. As a group of Feng family members dispersed, before long, everyone in the Feng family knew about Feng Tianwu's strength. Feng Tianwu was soon recognized as another unparalleled talent in the Feng family in the past 100 years, following Feng Wudao. The most shocking thing is naturally Feng Tianwu's gender. It is shocking that a woman has such talent and understanding. While the Feng family was in turmoil, Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu had already returned to Feng Wudao's private residence and stood in the backyard. The two stood facing each other. In a pavilion not far away, Feng Wudao and Kong Lao sat opposite each other, watching the confrontation between Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu with great interest. At this moment, Feng Tianwu's attitude towards Duan Lingtian was not the same as when she faced Feng Yunfei before. She didn't take Feng Yunfei seriously. But in her eyes, Duan Lingtian in the distance seemed unfathomable. In particular, the confident smile on Duan Lingtian's face unconsciously infected her, making her subconsciously feel how invincible Duan Lingtian was. Taking a deep breath, Feng Tianwu looked away. She knew that if she continued in this state, she would be defeated without a fight. Brother Duan, be careful. Feng Tianwu shouted softly and chose to strike first. She rushed out like a blazing flame, sweeping towards Duan Lingtian. It seemed as if it wanted to swallow Duan Lingtian whole. Wow! Above the void, the shadows of 18 ancient horned dragons flew out with great momentum. As soon as Feng Tianwu made a move, all her energy and artistic conception exploded without any reservation. Duan Lingtian stood there, motionless as a mountain. Seeing that Feng Tianwu had transformed into a flame and was about to rush towards him, wisps of milky white flames finally floated on his body. It was the burning Yuanli. Not only that, there seemed to be wisps of green energy between the Yuanli, filled with a strange aura. The artistic conception of wind. Tianwu, take my finger. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, his right hand shot out like lightning, as if assisted by a god. Wind and thunder finger. With a pointing of the finger, a whistling sound was heard. Condensed energy shot out from Duan Lingtian's fingertips, wrapped in deep green energy, and met the oncoming Feng Tianwu. Bang! As the Yuanli finger force hit Feng Tianwu, a light sound suddenly rang out. Feng Tianwu paused, and the flaming palm print that accompanied her was shattered in an instant. However, some of the Yuanli finger strength was also consumed as a result. The artistic conception of the 8 winds. Feng Tianwu cried out in surprise as she moved once more, sweeping to the side like a flame, barely avoiding Duan Lingtian's unstoppable Yuanli finger force. The Yuanli finger force flew out and finally sank into the ground like a torrent of wind and rain, disappearing without a trace. Call. Duan Lingtian stood still, calmly withdrawing his hand and remaining motionless. The attack just now didn't even cause Duan Lingtian's robe to flutter in the slightest. The 8th level of the virtual realm? Looking at the shadows of the 19 ancient horned dragons above Duan Lingtian's head, Feng Tianwu's face showed a hint of shock. She felt that her progress in the past few years was already abnormal. A big part of the reason why she has made such progress is because she is the owner of the fire spirit body. But what about Duan Lingtian? Duan Lingtian is not some innate spiritual being, he is just an ordinary warrior. Brother Duan, you are really amazing. Feng Tianwu couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Tianwu, do you want to continue? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. No. Feng Tianwu smiled bitterly and shook her head. Brother Duan, if you had told me earlier that you had broken through to the 8th level of the Void Realm and comprehended the 8-fold Wind Realm, I wouldn't have sparred with you. If she had known Duan Lingtian's level of cultivation earlier, why would she have gone to him to seek abuse? Entering the 8th level of the virtual realm? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh secretly. It seems that the fact that he deliberately concealed his cultivation level was not discovered by the girl Tianwu. You know, now he is no longer an 8th level warrior in the Void Realm, but a 9th level warrior in the Void Realm. As for the state of mind of Wind, I just broke through to the 8th level yesterday. Lingtian boy, you are really good at hiding it. At this moment, Feng Wudao, who was sitting in the pavilion, stood up, walked out slowly, and looked Duan Lingtian up and down, his face full of amazement. When he first met the young man in purple, he felt that he was extraordinary. Perhaps the prophecy is indeed true. Otherwise, how could fate have allowed Wooer to meet him? Feng Wudao's heart moved. At this moment, he was even more certain. Duan Lingtian is the man in the prophecy, the man who can save his daughter. A man from a small empire has such a high level of cultivation, even surpassing me back then. Throughout the Han dynasty, he can be called one of a kind. Feng Wudao sighed inwardly. Not long after, the sky gradually darkened and night fell. That night, Duan Lingtian, Feng Tianwu, Kong Lao, and Supa sat together. The table in the middle was filled with fine wine and delicacies, which were prepared by Supa. Several people sat together to eat and chat from time to time. Tomorrow is the dynasty martial competition. With your strength, Ling Tian, it won't be difficult for you to stand out and qualify for the 10 dynasties martial competition. However, if you want to achieve outstanding results in the 10 dynasties martial competition, you must take your own cultivation to a higher level. Feng Wudao looked at Duan Lingtian and spoke slowly. Duan Lingtian nodded. He had been mentally prepared for this. Soon, Duan Lingtian remembered something and couldn't help asking. Uncle Feng, I heard today that the Feng family only has 2 nominations for the Dynasty Martial Arts competition? Um. Feng Wudao nodded. How so? Duan Lingtian asked with a puzzled look on his face. Even the major empires each have 10 quotas. Is the Feng family even inferior to a mere empire? The empire is undoubtedly a behemoth. However, if a force like the Feng family wanted to sweep across the empire, and the empire did not have the protection of the Han Dynasty royal family, the empire would not be able to resist it at all. Each of the major empires under the Han Dynasty had at most only one Dongshu realm expert. However, in the Feng family, there are quite a few powerful people in the Cavern Void realm. Can't we compare like this? Feng Wudao shook his head, obviously knowing something. Duan Lingtian looked puzzled. Why can't we compare like this? Feng Wudao smiled and said, Do you know? This time, the Dynasty Martial Arts competition is divided into 2 stages. 2 stages. Duan Lingtian was stunned. Yes, 2 stages. Feng Wudao nodded, and then continued. Tomorrow, it will be the first stage of the Dynasty Martial competition. Tomorrow, the young talents of the Han Dynasty will not take action. After hearing Feng Wudao's words, Duan Lingtian pondered for a moment before curiously asking, could it be that tomorrow's event will only be a competition between the young talents of the major empires? Feng Wudao nodded again. Tomorrow, the major empires will decide the strongest 30 young talents. These 30 young talents will be qualified to participate in the second phase of the Dynasty Martial competition. In the second stage of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition, these 30 young talents will compete with the young talents of our Han Dynasty for the qualification to participate in the 10 Dynasties Martial Arts competition. Now, do you understand why our Feng family only has 2 nominations? Facing Feng Wudao's final question, Duan Lingtian nodded. Actually, it's not just our Feng family. Feng Wudao continued. For this Dynasty Martial Arts competition, besides the royal family having 3 nominations, prominent factions within the Han Dynasty, like our Feng family, only have 2 nominations each. As for ordinary factions, they only have 1 nomination. Duan Lingtian suddenly understood. So, the Zhang family and the Yi family only have 2 spots each. Feng Tianwu looked at Feng Wudao. Feng Wudao nodded. Duan Lingtian's eyes flickered, and he suddenly lost interest in tomorrow's Dynasty Martial competition. Tomorrow will be a battle between the young talents of the major empires. Duan Lingtian was not very interested in this. It's not that he looks down on the young talents of the major empires, but as the young talents of a mere empire, their strength is still limited compared to the top young talents of the Han Dynasty. Let's not talk about others. Let's just talk about Imo Xian, who came with me from the Blackstone Empire. Although he was the most talented young man in the Blackstone Empire a year ago, he had some extraordinary experiences in the past year. Otherwise, he would have been only at the 5th level of the Void Realm at best. Duan Lingtian thought secretly. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Duan Lingtian and the others dispersed. Brother Duan, see you tomorrow. Outside an elegant courtyard, Feng Tianwu greeted Duan Lingtian and then turned back to the courtyard. Duan Lingtian then left and returned to his own courtyard. That night, Duan Lingtian held the fragment of the wind's realm and continued to comprehend it. Of course, he knew in his heart that it was impossible for him, who had just comprehended the 8-fold wind realm, to comprehend the 9-fold wind realm in a short period of time. I'm not greedy. After 3 or 4 months, let me comprehend the 9th level of wind realm. After 7 or 8 months, let me comprehend the first intermediate level of wind realm. Duan Lingtian raised his brows and thought to himself. If anyone knew what Duan Lingtian was thinking right now, they would definitely be speechless. Isn't this greedy? As the night deepened, Duan Lingtian finally put away the fragment of wind's state of mind, lay down on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. He hasn't had a good night's sleep for a long time. After Duan Lingtian fell asleep, Wisps of moonlight slanted in from the open window and sprinkled on Duan Lingtian's body like stars. If Duan Lingtian was outside the room now, he would definitely be able to discover it. The moon tonight is very round. It is a full moon. Suddenly, a ray of moonlight fell on the storage ring in Duan Lingtian's hand. From the outside, there was nothing wrong. However, something strange happened in the space inside the ring. In the extremely quiet storage ring space, various things are neatly placed everywhere in an orderly manner. These things were all placed by Duan Lingtian with his mind. And at this moment, in an inconspicuous corner of the ring space, a series of slight sounds suddenly came out. If you look closely, you can see that in that corner, there is a broken stone tablet trembling slightly. At the same time, a ray of moonlight, through some unknown means, was transmitted from outside the ring and continuously poured into the stone tablet. The stone tablet trembled faster and faster. I don't know how long it took. Perhaps it was because the sky began to brighten and the moonlight gradually faded. However, on the surface of the stone tablet, there was a faint moonlight glow, which gradually merged into the strange name on the surface of the stone tablet and then disappeared. Until the last ray of moonlight disappeared, the stone tablet began to move strangely. Call. The stone tablet flew up out of thin air and then flew out fiercely, smashing into a pile of yuanshi on one side of the ring space, smashing all of the yuanshi into pieces. Immediately afterwards, the stone tablet continued to fly out, smashing some medicinal herbs that were idle on the other side. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The stone tablet flew out again, and each time it flew out, it smashed everything in the ring space into a mess. Gradually, the stone tablet seemed to lose its strength and fell completely silent. You can imagine. If Duan Lingtian saw everything inside the ring, he would definitely be horrified. However, Duan Lingtian now had no idea what was happening inside the ring space. Outside the ring, there is another world. The sky gradually brightened, and Duan Lingtian, who was lying in bed, woke up. The Dynasty Martial Arts competition is about to begin. After Duan Lingtian washed up casually, he suddenly felt inspired and took out a new set of clothes from the storage ring and put them on. However, when he was about to throw his pajamas into the ring, he was completely stunned. Sky. What happened? Duan Lingtian's mind moved, and the space inside the ring appeared before his eyes without reservation. However, the current storage ring space made him stunned. Chaos. It's so messy. What's going on? If this wasn't a storage ring space that couldn't accommodate living things, I would have thought there was a burglary. Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched. If he hadn't been extremely sure about the situation inside his ring, he would have really thought it was such a mess. After thinking for a long time, Duan Lingtian still couldn't figure it out. Forget it, let's get things sorted first. Although the space in the ring was a mess, fortunately, the things Duan Lingtian stored in it were not destroyed. Soon, he put all these things back into the distance with just a thought. Even this demon sealing steel has come here. After putting most of the things back, Duan Lingtian discovered that the broken stone tablet he had obtained from the Death Swamp in the Scarlet Sky Kingdom was no longer in the corner. What on earth happened in the ring space? Even something as heavy as the demon sealing steel escaped from that corner and ended up here. Now, Duan Lingtian felt a chill on his back and felt that something was amiss. The demon sealing steel was found in that strange underground palace when Duan Lingtian went deep into the Death Swamp to find out the mystery of his father, Duan Rufing's life and death. At that time, there was an extremely powerful soul inside the demon sealing steel. It rushed out from the demon sealing steel and wanted to seize his body. At that time, Duan Lingtian discovered that the soul was even more powerful than the soul of the reincarnation Martial Emperor. Perhaps, the owner of that soul was once stronger than the reincarnation Martial Emperor. After the powerful soul disappeared, The demon sealing steel that originally contained that soul also came into Duan Lingtian's hands and was kept in a corner of the storage ring. If it weren't for what happened today, Duan Lingtian would have almost forgotten about it. Call. Duan Lingtian's mind moved, and a broken stone tablet appeared in his hand. It is the demon sealing monument. I don't know what characters are written on this demon sealing steel. The reincarnation Martial Emperor has lived through 2 lifetimes, yet he doesn't recognize this kind of characters. Shaking his head, Duan Lingtian put the demon sealing steel back into his storage ring. No, I need to change my ring quickly. This ring is too weird. Duan Lingtian felt a chill down his spine when he thought about what had happened in the space inside the storage ring in his hand. He quickly took out another storage ring and transferred all the contents of this ring to it. As for this ring, laugh. As Duan Lingtian raised his hand, a third-grade weapon fire appeared, and the storage ring was quickly burned into a pool of liquid by Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian thought, and the liquid gradually transformed into a candlestick. Duan Lingtian casually placed the candlestick on the table and left the room. Because today's Dynasty Martial Arts competition is just a battle between young talents from major empires, the Feng family did not make a big fuss about it. When Duan Lingtian left the Feng family mansion, he was only accompanied by Feng Wudao, Feng Tianwu, and Kong Lao. As for Su Pe, she stayed in the mansion and did not leave. After staying at Feng Wudao's place for more than 10 days, Duan Lingtian had gained a certain understanding of the situation in the mansion within the mansion and knew that Su Pe was a kind of housekeeper. Su Pe is responsible for daily meals and other trivial matters. Uncle Feng, where is the Han Dynasty's Dynasty Martial Arts competition held? Duan Lingtian, who was walking in the air, looked at Feng Wudao, who was also walking in the air beside him, and asked. Prison fighting arena. Feng Wudao said slowly. Prison fighting arena? Duan Lingtian raised his eyebrows, somewhat surprised. The Han Dynasty also has a prison fighting arena? Also. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Feng Wudao shook his head. The prison fighting arena of the Han Dynasty has existed since the beginning of the Han Dynasty. It can be said that the history of the prison fighting arena is the history of the Han Dynasty. Nowadays, some empires, kingdoms, and kingdoms under the dynasty also have prison fighting arenas in their imperial cities, but they are all modeled after the dynasty. Feng Wudao finished speaking in one breath. Duan Lingtian suddenly understood. He was just thinking that the Qinglin Empire had a prisoner fighting arena, and the Han Dynasty also had a prisoner fighting arena. It turns out that even the prison fighting arena of the Qinglin Empire was just a replica. So, the prison fighting arena in the capital of the Han Dynasty must be the work of the royal family? Duan Lingtian asked. In his opinion, since the prison fighting arena has been able to be passed down for such a long time, it must be relying on an unshakable backer, and that backer can only be the royal family. Good. Feng Wudao's answer confirmed Duan Lingtian's guess. The prison fighting arena in the capital of the Han Dynasty. Now, Duan Lingtian was actually looking forward to it. You know, the scale of the prison fighting arena in the Qinglin Empire's imperial capital had shocked Duan Lingtian to a certain extent. The prison fighting field in the capital of the Han Dynasty will undoubtedly be even more shocking. Duan Lingtian and his 3 companions flew all the way north. Along the way, you can see many people flying in that direction. These people were obviously there to watch the fun. You bastard, didn't you say yesterday that today is just the first stage of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition? Aren't you interested in coming? A middle-aged man passed by Duan Lingtian and his companions and smiled at his companions. Since I have nothing to do, it would be nice to come and see the young talents of the major empires. The latter said. Today is definitely not as exciting as tomorrow. In fact, there aren't even many young talents above the 7th stage of the Void Realm today. The former shook his head and said, Of course, This first phase of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition is just a warm-up. The excitement will start tomorrow. The latter said again. Duan Lingtian had heard a lot of similar remarks along the way. Brother Duan. Old Kong smiled at Duan Lingtian and said slowly, if you weren't going to participate in the Dynasty Martial competition today, the eldest young master, the young lady, and I might not have gone to the prison fighting arena to join in the fun. Duan Lingtian nodded. This did not surprise him. Who are Feng Wudao and Kong Lao? The Dynasty Martial Arts competition among a group of young talents in the empire cannot attract them. As for Feng Tianwu, with her cultivation level, looking at the young talents of the major empires, there are probably few who can match her. Naturally, she has no interest in today's Dynasty Martial Arts competition. Arrive. Not long after, Kong Lao's voice reached Duan Lingtian's ears. At this time, Duan Lingtian saw. In the distance, an extremely spacious venue appeared, more than twice the size of the prison fighting field in the imperial city of Qinglin Empire. This place is also covered by a huge cage, which is daunting. Is this the prison fighting field of the Han Dynasty? Duan Lingtian's heart moved, and his gaze shifted from the prison fighting arena to the surrounding area. At this moment, Duan Lingtian realized it. The most distinctive feature of the prison fighting arena in the capital of the Han Dynasty is not the spacious venue, but the surrounding spectator seats. The surrounding audience seats, viewed from a distance, are divided into 3 levels. The lowest level is the audience seats around the prison fighting arena of the Qinglin Empire, just like the seats in a movie theater on Earth in the previous life. Of course, the seats in the cinema only face one direction, but the audience seats here surround the entire fighting arena. Now, the audience seats around the prison fighting arena are almost full of people. From a distance, it looked pitch black. So many people. Duan Lingtian was surprised. He had not expected that the first stage of the Dynasty Martial competition would attract so many people. At the edge of the prison fighting arena, there are many huge stone pillars. These stone pillars supported 9 auditoriums suspended in midair. There were fewer seats in these auditoriums, and many of them were empty. These seats are of relatively high quality and made of high-quality animal skins. Moreover, on one side of the auditorium, there were many soldiers in armor standing everywhere, like guardian gods. Soon, Duan Lingtian saw several groups of people in the distance sweeping across the sky, and finally separated and landed on several auditoriums suspended in the air. Prince Yong. Duan Lingtian had sharp eyes and recognized the leader of the group at a glance. It was the King Yong of the Black Stone Empire. As for the Prince of Yong, 2 old men followed him like shadows, and behind them were 9 young men. Duan Lingtian was no stranger to these people. They were the same group of people who came to the Han Dynasty with him. Then, Duan Lingtian saw it again. After revealing his identity to the soldiers, King Yong sat down in a corner of the audience seats with the 11 people behind him, occupying that area. These auditoriums are classified as medium-sized auditoriums. Elder Kong explained to Duan Lingtian, for this Dynasty Martial Arts competition, representatives from the major empires, along with the talented young men they brought with them, will be seated in these middle-level audience seats. Furthermore, representatives from the Han Dynasty's more established factions, along with the talented young men they brought with them, will also be seated here. A medium audience? Duan Lingtian nodded, feeling quite emotional. In this world, everything is really divided into different levels. And the strong always possess the best things. So, that's the premier seats? Duan Lingtian looked upwards, following the stone pillars rising into the sky, towards the higher auditorium. The auditorium here is also divided into 9 seats. However, there are very few seats in each auditorium, only a small row. The seats in the auditorium here are undoubtedly more luxurious. Compared with the seats here, the seats in the middle auditorium are like those for beggars. Yes, This is the first-class auditorium. Elder Kong nodded. Generally speaking, only the high-ranking officials of the imperial family, our Feng family, the Zhang family, and the Yi family can bring people up to these high-class audience seats. Of course, the Han dynasty is full of powerful people, including some powerful independent cultivators and those with special status, such as some fourth-grade weapon refiners, fourth-grade alchemists, and high-level inscription masters, who can all lead people up there. Old Kong said slowly. Duan Lingtian nodded. Walk. Feng Wudao called out to Duan Lingtian and the other two, then took the lead and took off into the air, heading towards the upper-class audience seats in a blink of an eye. At the same time, these four figures attracted a lot of people's attention. Who are those people? They actually went up to the upper audience seats. Some warriors sitting in the lower audience seats couldn't help but exclaim. It seems like a new face. I can't recognize it. Someone else took up the conversation. Duan Lingtian. Meanwhile, in the middle audience seats, 12 people from the Blackstone Empire, including Prince Yong, finally spotted Duan Lingtian. I never thought Duan Lingtian had acquaintances in the Han dynasty. Moreover, those people were clearly of extraordinary status, especially the red-robed middle-aged man who led the group. Lydia Su was surprised and couldn't help but gasp. The moment he saw the middle-aged man in red robe, his heart couldn't help but tremble, as if the middle-aged man in red robe was a flood and beast. This feeling, I only had it when I was with my master and Uncle Dao. Suli was secretly shocked. In the Han dynasty, is there anyone who can be compared with his master and uncle? No wonder Duan Lingtian has made such rapid progress along the way. It turns out he knows such a powerful person. Now, Suli only thought that Duan Lingtian had achieved such a shocking level of cultivation over the years thanks to the help of this powerful man. If Duan Lingtian knew what Suli was thinking at the moment, he would definitely be speechless. At most, Feng Wudao had helped him comprehend the artistic realm of wind a few days ago. Apart from that, he had not been of any help to his cultivation. Mo Xian and other young talents were also surprised. Duan Lingtian followed Feng Wudao and landed in a high-class auditorium. Soon, an armored soldier standing in the audience respectfully saluted Feng Wudao and Kong Lao, Master Wudao, Kong Lao. Duan Lingtian saw the soldier's reaction clearly. After seeing Feng Wudao, the soldier's eyes showed a hint of confusion. But when he saw Kong Lao, he seemed to have an epiphany. Not only did he recognize Kong Lao, he also guessed Feng Wudao's identity. Feng Wudao nodded calmly, then sat down with Duan Lingtian and the other two. Now, among the 9 top-class seats, only the one where Duan Lingtian and his companions were seated was occupied. Uncle Feng, I'll go over first. Duan Lingtian said hello to Feng Wudao and prepared to reunite with Prince Yong and the others. After all, he still had to participate in the first stage of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition today, and he couldn't be a mere spectator like Feng Wudao and the other two. Go ahead. I'll have Old Kong bet more yuanshi on you. Feng Wudao smiled. Primordial stone? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Then, through Master Kong's explanation, Duan Lingtian finally understood. It turns out that the stakes set for the upper-class audience seats in the prison fighting arena are not gold or silver, but prime stone. Of course, it is the low-grade yuanshi. Uncle Feng, are there any restrictions on betting in this prison fight arena? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. That's not the case. Feng Wudao shook his head, then asked curiously, You're asking this, do you want to place a bet as well? However, the gold and silver bets must be placed in the 2 audience seats below. No, I'm not betting on gold or silver. Duan Lingtian shook his head, thought for a while, and raised his hand, revealing a pile of low-grade yuanshi. There were thousands of low-grade yuan stones, and Duan Lingtian used his yuan power to support them. Not that he wanted to. There were so many yuan stones that if he didn't use his yuan power to support himself, He wouldn't be able to pick them all up even if he stretched out his hands. For a moment, Feng Wudao, Kong Lao, and Feng Tianwu were all stunned when they saw the Yuan stone in Duan Lingtian's hand. Tianwu, here are 5,000 low-grade yuan sure. Bet them all on me later. Duan Lingtian smiled slightly and raised his hand. 5,000 low-grade yuan sure flew towards Feng Tianwu and hovered in front of her. Yes, brother Duan. Feng Tianwu came back to his senses and put all the yuan stones into the storage ring. She was no stranger to low-grade yuan sure. But even she usually only has a few dozen coins at most. She believed that even her father could not produce so many low-grade yuan sure at once. We'll split the profits equally. Duan Lingtian laughed. Brother Duan, I can't take it. No matter how much I earn, I will give it to you. Feng Tianwu shook her head, unwilling to take advantage of Duan Lingtian. Seeing Feng Tianwu's insistence, Duan Lingtian stopped trying to persuade her. After all, Feng Wudao was behind Tianwu, so she probably had no shortage of low-grade yuan sure. During the Han Dynasty, although medium-grade and high-grade yuan sure are rare, there are quite a few low-grade yuan sure. After all, the royal family of the Han Dynasty controlled a low-grade yuan sure mine. Of course, if you want to guard this mineral vein, it is not something that the royal family alone can do. It also requires the assistance of powerful forces such as the Feng family, the Zhang family, and the Yi family. Therefore, every time low-grade yuan sure is mined, in addition to the royal family taking the lion's share, forces such as the Feng family can also get a portion. What the Feng family can get is second only to the royal family. As the patriarch of the Feng family and an extremely powerful person, Feng Wudao naturally has no shortage of low-grade yuan sure in his hands. You don't want to tip off the police, do you? Suddenly, Duan Lingtian raised his brows, looked at the armored soldier not far away, and said in a deep voice, Now, the soldier is planning to leave. It was obvious that he was planning to secretly tip off others and have them lower the odds of betting on Duan Lingtian's victory. At this moment, Kong Lao came back to his senses, glanced at the soldier with a cold gaze, and snorted, If you make another move, I will make your blood splatter 3 feet. Kong Lao's words made the soldier stiffen and his face turn pale. However, he didn't dare to make any small moves. He knew it clearly. Given the old man's status in the Han Dynasty, killing him would be as easy as crushing an ant. Ling Tian, even I don't carry this many yuan sure. Where did you get them? Feng Wudao looked at Duan Lingtian and asked in surprise. Duan Lingtian also shocked him when he took out 5,000 low-grade yuan sure at once. Many? Hearing Feng Wudao's words, Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched slightly. But no one knew what Feng Wudao's expression would be if he knew that in addition to thousands of low-grade yuan sure, there were also dozens of medium-grade yuan sure and even one high-grade yuan sure in his storage ring. Of course, he didn't plan to tell Feng Wudao. Uncle Feng, when I first arrived in the Han Dynasty, I took a look around, and later, I found a hidden cave in a remote mountain range. Duan Lingtian made up a bizarre story. At that time, I found a skeleton and a storage ring in that cave. Those yuan stones were inside the ring. Brother Duan, you are so lucky. Feng Tianwu said in surprise. Yes, such an adventure is not something that everyone can encounter. Brother Duan is indeed a blessed man. Back then, he discovered the underwater cave. Today, he has come across the bones and relics of an ancient person with extraordinary origins. Master Kong also sighed. There are 5,000 low-grade yuan stones in the ring. In his opinion, the origin of the skeleton must be extraordinary. Yeah, you're lucky. Feng Wudao gave Duan Lingtian a deep look, which made Duan Lingtian feel a little guilty. He could see that Feng Wudao didn't quite believe what he said. Tianwu, I'm going to meet up with Prince Yong and the others first. After greeting Feng Tianwu, Duan Lingtian flew out and headed towards the middle audience seats, landing steadily in the seat where Prince Yong and others were sitting. It fell right in front of the seats of Prince Yong and others. At this moment, many eyes fell on Duan Lingtian again. This young man obviously came from the upper-class audience seats. Who is he? He seems to be from the empire under the Han dynasty. However, he seemed to have just gone up to the upper audience seats with someone. It seems he knows someone important in our Han dynasty. That should be it. A group of spectators in the lower auditorium were talking about this. Meanwhile, representatives from various empires and young talents who had already arrived in the other middle-level audience seats all looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. When did such a person appear in the Blackstone Empire? He is actually related to a big shot in the Han dynasty. If we defeat him, wouldn't that be a great honor? I must make him my stepping stone. At this moment, the young talents from the major empires looked at Duan Lingtian with the same gaze as a hunter looking at his prey. It was as if he couldn't wait to get on the field and defeat Duan Lingtian. Prince Yong. After Duan Lingtian landed, he greeted Prince Yong with a smile. Duan Lingtian, come and sit here. Prince Yong invited Duan Lingtian to sit next to him. Now, among the group of people from the Blackstone Empire, King Yong sat alone at the front. In the back row are the two old men. After that, it was Su Li and a group of young talents from the Blackstone Empire. I'll just sit next to Su Li. Duan Lingtian smiled at Prince Yong, moved, and landed on the empty seat next to Su Li. Upon seeing this, King Yong no longer insisted. After sitting next to Su Li, Duan Lingtian's mental power could not help but extend out, covering Su Li's body, and soon detected Su Li's cultivation level. 8th level of entering the virtual realm. Sure enough. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly, but he wasn't surprised. Last time, he found out that Long Yun's cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of the Void Realm, so he guessed that Su Li's cultivation should have improved again. Now it seems that his guess was absolutely correct. Su Li, how is your understanding of the Sword Realm? After discovering Su Li's cultivation, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but ask. Won't you know when it's my turn to take action? Lydia Su smiled mysteriously. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. This Su Li is still keeping us in suspense. However, thinking that he also likes to keep people in suspense, he couldn't help but shook his head. Is this retribution? Then, Duan Lingtian's gaze began to sweep across the seats in the medium-sized auditorium. Including our Blackstone Empire, there are people from 17 empires in total, but it seems that not all of them have arrived yet. Soon, Duan Lingtian saw that many more people arrived at the middle audience seats. As time passed, people from 31 empires soon gathered together. At this time, fewer and fewer people came. I don't know how many empires there are in the Han dynasty. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. The Han dynasty had a total of 36 empires. Su Li heard Duan Lingtian's muttering and said with a smile. Su Li, you even know this? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Lydia Su smiled and said, not only do I know about them, but I've been to almost all of them. Duan Lingtian was stunned. He didn't expect Su Li to have been to so many places before. I guess it was Su Li's master who took him there again. Now, Duan Lingtian is becoming more and more interested in Su Li's master. Su Li, has your master come today? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Today, the Dynasty Martial Arts competition will be held, and Su Li will also take action to compete for the qualification to participate in the second stage of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition. No. Su Li shook his head. 2. Duan Lingtian smiled and said, today's Dynasty Martial Arts competition is only the first stage, which will determine the 30 strongest young talents from each of the major empires. With your current strength, I think you're almost certain to win. Your master knows the outcome, so it's not surprising that he didn't come. Su Li looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. He didn't expect Duan Lingtian to have such confidence in him. You have to know that his current level of cultivation has never been displayed in front of others, and the only people who know about it are him and his master. No. Su Li shook his head. Not only will Master not come today, even if I pass the first stage of the Dynasty Martial Competition and qualify to participate in the second stage of the Dynasty Martial Competition, tomorrow, Master will not come. You're not coming tomorrow? This time, Duan Lingtian was completely stunned. Could it be that Su Li's master has no interest in the Dynasty Martial Competition, or even the 10 Dynasties Martial Competition? Or maybe, he thought Su Li would definitely be qualified to participate in the 10 Dynasties Martial Arts Competition? So, he felt there was no need to come? The more Duan Lingtian thought about it, the more certain he became. Duan Lingtian, let's not talk about my master for now. The person who just took you to the upper-class audience seats seems to be quite extraordinary as well. Su Li looked at Duan Lingtian and asked meaningfully. It's not simple. Duan Lingtian nodded, then continued. However, no matter how extraordinary he is probably still no match for your master. Your master, after all, is from the outside world. The word outside the domain has an absolute deterrent effect within the major dynasties. Su Li never expected that Duan Lingtian would change the subject in the blink of an eye. He shook his head helplessly and didn't ask any more questions. Otherwise, who knows where Duan Lingtian would take the topic. As time passed, representatives and young talents from 36 empires, including the Black Market Empire, arrived one after another. For a moment, the middle audience seats of the prison fighting arena were crowded with people. Even on the side of the auditorium where Duan Lingtian and the others from the Blackstone Empire were sitting, there were representatives from 3 other empires and young talents. Prince Yong, it's been years since we last met. How have you been? An imperial representative who had just arrived with his men sat not far from King Yong and took the initiative to greet him. This is an old man dressed in gray, looking very old, with a pair of cloudy eyes that show neither joy nor anger, and an unfathomable aura all over his body. Senior Liu. Prince Yong looked at the gray-robed old man and smiled faintly. I'm fine. I never thought that you would be the leader of the Fufeng Empire this time. When you get older, you always need to move around more. The old man surnamed Liu smiled back at me. Then, the old man's eyes swept over the 10 young talents of the Blackstone Empire one by one. Every time he looked at each of them, a ray of brilliance seemed to appear in the depths of his turbid eyes. Duan Lingtian saw this clearly. Prince Yong, I heard that the most powerful young man in your Blackstone Empire is named Emo Xian, but I don't know who he is? The old man asked King Yong curiously. Emo Xian, this is Senior Liu, the head of the 5 great priests of the Fufeng Empire. Upon hearing this, Prince Yong turned to look at Emo Xian, who was sitting in the 3rd row. Senior Liu. Emo Xian looked at the old man and nodded slightly in greeting. Yes, he is indeed a handsome man. The old man praised. Humph, what about the Blackstone Empire's most powerful young man? In my opinion, all of this is now a thing of the past. A cold snort sounded. It broke the peaceful atmosphere at the scene. For a moment, everyone who heard this, including Duan Lingtian, looked towards the source of the voice. There sat a young man with a stern face. Long Yun. At a glance, Duan Lingtian recognized the young man. It was none other than Long Yun, with whom he had met before. Long Yun, like him, came from the Qinglin Empire. He still remembered that when he first met Long Yun, it was during the martial arts competition held by the 5 major sects of the Qinglin Empire. At that time, Long Yun had gathered all the glory in one person. In that martial arts competition between the 5 major sects, only the sword master, Long Yun, participated among the 5 young masters of the Qinglin Empire. At that time, almost everyone thought that Long Yun would get the honor of first in martial arts competition. Unfortunately, the result was unexpected. Duan Lingtian, who emerged as a dark horse and defeated Long Yun in one fell swoop, winning the title of first in the martial arts competition, severely dampened Long Yun's limelight. It can be said that Duan Lingtian at that time became famous in the Qinglin Empire by riding on the dragon cloud. Long Yun, a year ago, you didn't have the courage to fight me? Could it be that now, you think you can defeat me? Emo Xian's face darkened slightly, and his lustrous eyes extended an extremely sharp gaze, slowly falling on Long Yun. You are not qualified to fight me now. Long Yun looked at Emo Xian and shook his head. Among the talented young men in the Blackstone Empire, only Duan Lingtian and Su Li are qualified to be my opponents. You can't. Between words, he wantonly trampled on Emo Xian's dignity. You're looking for death. Emo Xian stood up suddenly, his hair standing on end with anger, his eyes glowing red, staring at Long Yun intently, his voice coming out with extreme coldness. I told you, you are not qualified. Long Yun shook his head. He never took Emo Xian seriously from the beginning to the end, and he really didn't take Emo Xian seriously. Perhaps, a year ago, he was no match for Emo Xian. But today, with the help of his powerful master, his cultivation has undergone earth-shaking changes compared to a year ago. Just as he said just now. Now, among the group of young talents in the Blackstone Empire, he only takes Duan Lingtian and Su Li seriously. Die. Finally, Emo Xian couldn't hold back any longer. With a loud roar, he pounced towards Long Yun, as if he had turned into a wild beast with its bloody mouth wide open, wanting to swallow Long Yun directly. At the same time, as Emo Xian's Yuanli surged, the shadows of 7 horned dragons gradually condensed into shape in the void above his head. When wisps of purple energy appeared between Emo Xian's Yuanli, and lightning bolts appeared among them. Above the void, the shadows of 5 ancient horned dragons appeared again. Enter the 5th level of the Void Realm. The artistic conception of the 5th level of thunder. This is Emo Xian's current strength. Whoosh. Emo Xian threw a punch, and his Yuanli and the thunder state of mind followed him like a shadow, stirring up a rolling wave of air that made the robes of Duan Lingtian and the others rustle. A punch carrying the power of thunder whizzed out, like a meteor across the sky, and smashed hard into Long Yun. I don't understand. Facing Emo Xian's fierce punch, Long Yun still had a look of disdain on his face. Suddenly, Long Yun took action. Call. As he raised his hand, his palm turned into a knife, and the energy in it raged and bloomed. At this moment, except for Duan Lingtian and Su Li, everyone present remained calm. Their eyes widened, and they looked at the scene in disbelief. Sky. What did they see? At this moment, 10 phantoms of ancient horned dragons suddenly appeared in the void above Long Yun's head. Using only Yuanli, he could mobilize the power of heaven and earth and transform into the phantoms of 10 ancient horned dragons. 7th level of the Void Realm. Prince Yong couldn't help but exclaimed. He never expected that among the group of young talents he brought, Long Yun, who was originally only ranked in the upper middle level, would have such a big change in his cultivation after a year. The others were also shocked. Before one wave subsides, another wave arises. Buzz. As Long Yun raised his hand, the palm knife whizzed out and met Emo Xian's fierce punch. The palm knife was still halfway when it burst out with a sharp and domineering aura. Above the void, 7 more phantoms of ancient horned dragons appeared. The artistic conception of the 7-fold sword. Prince Yong raised his eyebrows, his eyes filled with disbelief. What exactly did Long Yun encounter in the past year? Now, Prince Yong is almost certain. In the past year, Long Yun must have had some adventures, and they were amazing adventures that you can only encounter by chance. What a joke. If it weren't for some amazing adventure, how could an ordinary person a year ago display such strength that shocked everyone a year later? Buzz. The palm knife fell, carrying the power of 17 ancient horned dragons. Compared to the power of Emo Xian's 12 ancient giant elephants, it was even stronger than the power of 5 ancient horned dragons. The strength between the two is not on the same level at all. Imo Xian's expression had already changed when he saw the shadows of 17 ancient horned dragons in the void above Long Yun's head. Now, even though he was filled with regret, he was already in a difficult situation. As the saying goes, spilt water cannot be collected. At this moment, he didn't even have time to take out his spiritual weapon, so he could only bite the bullet and fight against Long Yun. He could almost guess his ending. That's enough. Just when Imo Xian was completely desperate, King Yong shouted. The next moment, Prince Yong took action and easily neutralized the two men's powerful force, shocking them back to their respective seats. Unlike Long Yun, who took his seat lightly. Boom. Imo Xian sat back down with a thud, cold sweat pouring down his forehead. At that moment just now, he only felt how close death was. It was the first time in his life that he was threatened by death. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. At this moment, Long Yun's disdainful voice reached Imo Xian's ears, making Imo Xian feel like he was struck by lightning, and his face turned red instantly. But he couldn't say anything back. After all, it was true that he was not as skilled as others. For a moment, he felt ashamed and angry. Although he didn't look at the gazes falling on him, he could guess that they were definitely mocking. Lord Yongwang. Finally, Imo Xian lowered his head, took a deep breath, and said to King Yong, "I forfeit this time's dynasty martial competition. Abstain." Although Imo Xian's words were brief, they were powerful. This Imo Xian, can't he even withstand this little blow? Duan Lingtian was stunned. At this moment, Imo Xian moved and turned into a swift stream of light, leaving the middle audience seats, soaring into the sky, disappearing into the horizon. As soon as Imo Xian left, the people present came to their senses and shook their heads. No one expected that Imo Xian could not accept defeat. Prince Yong, it seems that the most powerful young man in your Blackstone Empire is not really the strongest young talent in your Blackstone Empire. The old man surnamed Lu looked at King Yong and sighed. Imo Xian's departure left Prince Yong stunned for a moment. Hearing the old man's words, he came to his senses. I never thought Long Yun could achieve such a high level of cultivation in just 1 year. Long Yun's change caught Prince Yong off guard. Just now, he said, among the young talents of your Blackrock Empire, only Duan Lingtian and Su Li are qualified to be his rivals? The old man exclaimed in surprise, Prince Yong, your Blackstone Empire is truly well hidden. It seems that, besides this one, your Blackstone Empire has 2 other young talents who are even more powerful than your Blackstone Empire's so-called number 1 young warrior, Imo Xian. But I don't know which 2 they are. As the old man spoke, his words were full of interest. The group of young talents from the Fufeng Empire behind the old man came back to their senses from the shock just now and looked at the remaining 8 young talents from the Blackstone Empire with interest. Obviously, they were also very curious about who those 2 people, Duan Lingtian and Su Li, were. Soon, they followed the gazes of the other 6 young talents of the Blackstone Empire and got the answers they wanted. So young. When their eyes fell on the young man in purple and the young man in red sitting together, they were stunned. Isn't this too young? The 2 people in front of me, the young man in red, should be close to 30 years old. And that young man in purple looked only about 25 years old. Are these 2 young men regarded as real opponents by the young talent of the Blackstone Empire who has entered the 7th level of the Void Realm and comprehended the 7-fold Sword Realm? Some of them couldn't believe it. After all, if this is the case, doesn't it mean that these 2 young men are both above the 7th level of the Void Realm? In fact, it was not just the group of young talents from the Fufeng Empire who did not believe it. Even the other 6 young talents from the Blackstone Empire were unwilling to believe it. The fact that Long Yun, after a year, had the strength to crush Imo Xian had already shocked them. If we follow Long Yun's words, doesn't that mean that Duan Lingtian and Su Li's current strength is enough to crush Imo Xian? In this case, the strongest young man in their Blackstone Empire is too worthless, right? In just 1 year, He was surpassed in all aspects by three people who were not as good as him a year ago. Duan Lingtian, Su Li. In fact, even Prince Yong found it hard to believe now. If it was just Duan Lingtian, he wouldn't have much doubt. But with Su Li added, he became a little uncertain. Whoosh. Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound came from a distance. At the same time, a figure stood in the air above the prison fighting arena. Suddenly, the attention of a group of people from the Blackstone Empire and the Fufeng Empire was drawn over. Warriors are usually prohibited from standing in the air above the prison fighting arena. The only people who could stand in the air there were those from the prison fighting arena, that is, the royal family of the Han Dynasty. The person standing in the air above the prison fighting arena is a young man in white. He is about 35 years old, with a stern face, straight sword-like eyebrows, and an elegant demeanor. Is he the one who presided over today's Dynasty martial arts competition? Duan Lingtian was a little surprised. So young. In fact, it wasn't just Duan Lingtian who was surprised. Even the representatives and young talents from the major empires, as well as the audience in the lower-class seats, were shocked by the age of the young man in white. You have to know that in the past, the people who presided over the prisoner fights were at least middle-aged. Only a powerful host can intimidate the slaves and monsters engaged in prison fights. And strong strength, to a certain extent, is equivalent to old age. Welcome representatives of the 36 empires and young talents to participate in our Han Dynasty's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition. I am the host of the first stage of the selection for today's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition. The young man in white had a stern expression on his face and spoke slowly. Then, the young man in white changed the subject and went straight to the point, stating the purpose of today's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition. In short, the ultimate goal of today's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition is to select the 30 most outstanding young talents from the 360 young talents of the 36 empires. And these 30 young talents will gather together with a group of young talents from the Han Dynasty tomorrow to compete for the qualification to participate in the 10 Dynasties Martial Arts Competition. Everyone else should already know these rules, right? Duan Lingtian discovered that the representatives of the major empires and young talents in the middle-level audience seats were not very surprised after hearing what the young man in white said. Soon, the young man in white began to introduce the specific rules of today's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition. Duan Lingtian listened attentively. Today's Dynasty Martial Arts Competition has simple rules. 360 young talents will each draw a numbered token of their own, and will then advance to the next round according to the order of their tokens. Due to the large number of participants, we will be conducting 10 auditions at the same time at the beginning. In addition, there will be a dedicated person to record each audition. As the young man in white said this, 10 figures rose into the air from below and stood behind him. These are 10 middle-aged men with expressionless faces, like 10 statues. Obviously, these are the people responsible for recording the results. The first round of selection will eliminate most people. The second round will eliminate half of them again. By then, only 90 people will be left. After 90 people are chosen, the rules will change again. If a talented youngster is eliminated due to bad luck, as long as you refuse to give up, you'll be given another chance at the end, and you'll still have a chance to secure one of the final 30 spots. The young man in white finished speaking in one breath. Next, the label token is extracted. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 9 swift figures took off into the air and landed in a medium-sized auditorium. There were 9 young men, each holding a large wooden tray in his hand. On top of the tray were 40 metal tokens. 40 tokens are placed face down and backs up. On the surface, they are exactly the same. It seems that the token drawing process involves us each choosing a token, and when we flip over these tokens, the numbers on them are all different. Su Li's voice reached Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian nodded. As early as when the young man holding the wooden tray landed in their medium-sized auditorium, his mental power had quietly extended out, covering the tokens on the wooden tray. Although Duan Lingtian's mental power cannot be used as eyes, but he could still use his mental power to detect the grooves carved on the front of the token and thus determine the number on it. Hey, the numbers on these 40 tokens are actually random. There's token number 3, token number 52, and even token number 327. There's absolutely no pattern at all. Now, Duan Lingtian could almost confirm it. 9 young men each went up to 9 medium-sized seats in the auditorium. The tokens on the wooden trays in their hands were all shuffled, with no pattern to follow. For example, the young man who was approaching Duan Lingtian and the others now had only one of the 40 tokens on the wooden tray in his hand, the 9 tokens before number 10, and that was number 3. Tokens number 1, number 2, and number 4 to number 9 are not on the wooden plate. In the audience where Duan Lingtian was, there were a total of 40 young talents from the 4 empires, corresponding to exactly 40 tokens. The young man came towards Duan Lingtian first, and the 9 young talents of the Blackstone Empire were the first to receive the tokens. If you are short one person here, please have this representative draw on your behalf. When it is your turn to represent the token you hold, the other person who is dueling against the owner of this token will be given a buy and automatically advance. The young man holding the jade plate came to King Yong and said to him. Obviously, he also knew that a young talent had left the Blackrock Empire. King Yong nodded, then raised his hand, ready to draw a token at random. Etc. Duan Lingtian called out to Prince Yong in time. Prince Yong looked at Duan Lingtian with a puzzled look on his face. Duan Lingtian, you. This big brother. Duan Lingtian looked at the young man holding the wooden tray and asked with a smile, but I don't know how we will be selected for promotion after we draw the tokens. Token 1 versus Token 2, Token 3 versus Token 4, and so on, until Token 359 versus Token 360. The young man explained patiently. I understand. Duan Lingtian nodded, then looked at Prince Yong. Concentrating his energy, he said, Prince Yong, please choose the 5th token from the left in the row closest to you. Upon hearing this, King Yong couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't know why Duan Lingtian asked him to choose that token. However, for him, it doesn't matter which token he chooses. After all, no matter which token he chooses, it will help the owner of the other token to advance. For example, if he chooses token number 1, the owner of token number 2 will win without a fight and advance to the next round. If he draws token number 28, the owner of token number 27 will be promoted by a buy. Call. Prince Yong raised his hand, turned over the token Duan Lingtian mentioned, and held it in his hand. At this time, a group of young talents in the Blackstone Empire saw it clearly. The token in Prince Yong's hand was number 31. Next, a group of young talents from the Blackstone Empire challenged for the token. After a few people started choosing, Duan Lingtian and Su Li also joined in. Duan Lingtian's gaze was now fixed on one of the tokens. That token was in the corner, no one cared about it. Only after the other 8 young talents from the Blackrock Empire had drawn their own tokens did Duan Lingtian slowly open his own token. When Duan Lingtian flipped open his token, the young man holding the tray of tokens was stunned. Prince Yong was also stunned. The remaining 8 young talents were all stunned. Sky. What did they see? 332. Su Li glanced at the token in Duan Lingtian's hand, then at the token in Prince Yong's hand. He couldn't help but shook his head and sighed. Duan Lingtian, you're really lucky. You got a buy in the first round. The token in Prince Yong's hand belongs to Mo Xian who left. No matter who it is, as long as they face this token belonging to Mo Xian, they can get the privilege of a buy and advance to the next round. And now, this privilege was obtained by Duan Lingtian. Number 32. The token in Prince Yong's hand was number 31. Amidst envious gazes, Duan Lingtian put away token number 32. At this moment, a surprised voice of Yuanli reached Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian. How? How did you know? This condensed sound of Yuanli belongs to Prince Yong. Just now, Duan Lingtian asked Prince Yong to choose the token. Although Prince Yong felt strange, he didn't know why Duan Lingtian did that. It wasn't until Prince Yong saw Duan Lingtian draw token number 32 that he realized all of this was planned by Duan Lingtian in advance. In other words, Duan Lingtian knew the numbers behind these tokens in advance. Intuition. Duan Lingtian condensed his energy and spoke. Intuition. The corner of Prince Yong's mouth twitched, but he would not believe Duan Lingtian's nonsense. P.S. I wish all my brothers and sisters a happy Lantern Festival. What a joke. Can this be detected intuitively? At this moment, Duan Lingtian naturally saw that Prince Yong did not believe him, but he did not explain too much. In fact, he certainly didn't rely on any intuition to know that the token that King Yong got was number 32, nor did he rely on intuition to just get number 31 token. As early as when the young man holding the wooden tray stepped onto the auditorium where they were, his mental power had already detected the numbers on the 40 tokens. Of the 40 tokens, only 2 have numbers that are consecutive and opposite. They are number 31 and number 32. It is precisely because of this that what happened next happened. He asked King Yong to take down token number 31. He directly drew token number 32. Any inscriptionist who is proficient in controlling their mental power can almost use their mental power to detect the numbers on the front of these covered tokens. Duan Lingtian's heart moved, and he thought to himself. Therefore, he did not think he was that great. Duan Lingtian, are you an inscription master? Soon, a surprised voice came to Duan Lingtian's ears. It was Prince Yong's Yuanli Ningyin. Obviously, King Yong has recovered from his surprise and can now make accurate judgments. This time, Duan Lingtian didn't keep the secret and nodded gently. King Yong couldn't help but shake his head and sigh, then continued, his voice condensed with his Yuanli. The fact that you can detect the numbers on these tokens with your mental power is enough to show that you are extremely proficient in controlling your mental power, and your attainments in the art of inscription are not low. Actually, you have incredible talent in martial arts, so why waste time studying the art of inscription? If you hadn't studied the art of inscription, you would definitely be even stronger now. King Yong seemed to feel a little regretful when he spoke about it later. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian's attainments in the art of inscription were not low, which indirectly showed that Duan Lingtian had put a lot of hard work into this area, thus wasting a lot of time. If Duan Lingtian could use this wasted time on cultivation, his strength would definitely be even greater. Duan Lingtian naturally noticed the pity that Prince Yong expressed towards him. In response, he just shook his head and smiled. Only he himself knew that his attainments in the art of inscription were inherited from the Martial Emperor of Reincarnation, and he had never wasted any time on it. Duan Lingtian, I thought I could see you take action first, but now it seems that's not possible. Suli sat next to Duan Lingtian and shook his head. The token he drew was number 237. Lucky, no help. Duan Lingtian shrugged and said shamelessly. No red face, no panting. It was as if he was lucky enough to draw token number 32. However, Lydia Su had no doubts. After all, Suli didn't know that it was Duan Lingtian who asked Prince Yong to draw the token number 31 just now. A moment later, in the 9 medium-sized auditoriums, 360 young talents from 36 empires drew their own number tokens, one by one. These tokens are marked with unique numbers. Now, please invite the young talents who have received tokens 1 to 20 to take the stage. Above the prison fighting arena, the young man in white stood there, his face still stern, and spoke in a deep voice. At this moment, the 10 middle-aged men behind him instantly turned into a stream of light. When they reappeared, They were already distributed in various areas above the prison fighting field. The 10 people deliberately kept a distance from each other. Everyone, I'll go up first. Among the Blackstone Empire's young talents, one obtained token number 3. He said hello to Duan Lingtian and the others before taking off. Duan Lingtian had an impression of this talented young man. It was the Gao Yuhai who had fought with Long Yun before. The weapon in his hand was a spiritual fan. A year ago, he was an 8th-level warrior in the Void Realm and had comprehended the microscopic sword movement. After a year, he actually broke through to the 1st level of the Void Realm. Duan Lingtian looked at Gao Yuhai's back and felt something in his heart. As early as Gao Yuhai opened his mouth, Duan Lingtian's spiritual power had already enveloped him like a shadow, making his entire cultivation level exposed. Enter the 1st level of the Void Realm. Among the young talents of the major empires, although he is not at the bottom, he is only at the middle to lower level. Just now, Duan Lingtian had specifically investigated the cultivation base of many young talents from various empires. Among them, the weakest ones are some 9th-level warriors in the Void Realm. 9th level of the Void Peeping Realm. Participating in the Dynasty Martial competition is just a formality. Duan Lingtian thought secretly. At this time, another 19 young talents rushed out from various medium-sized audience seats and gathered with Gao Yuhai. Token holder number 1 and token holder number 2, come to me. Soon, a middle-aged man who was responsible for recording the results spoke. His voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by the 20 young talents on the field. Suddenly, the 2 young talents quickly came to the side of the middle-aged man. Token holders 3 and 4, come to me. Then someone else spoke. Soon, Gao Yuhai and another young talent came to the side of another middle-aged man who was responsible for recording the battle results. The remaining 16 young talents also took their positions. 20 young talents, divided into groups of 2, stood facing each other. Not far from every 2 young talents confronting each other, there was a middle-aged man standing there with a serious face, acting as a witness. The war is about to begin. Originally, I was worried. 360 people, if they were just fighting one-on-one, a day wouldn't be enough. Now, with these 10 matches all at once, it's much more efficient. Duan Lingtian looked at the 20 young talents confronting each other and sighed inwardly. The martial arts competition begins. At this moment, the young man in white clothes who was standing in the center of the sky above the prison fighting arena suddenly shouted. Suddenly, the young talents of the major empires who were divided into 10 areas to confront each other took action one after another, using all their means. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. One after another, extremely swift figures passed by each other. Wherever he passed, his yuanli surged, his artistic conception followed him like a shadow, and his spiritual weapon attacked his opponent fiercely. After just one encounter, 6 people surrendered. The strength of these 6 people was surpassed by their opponents in all aspects, leaving them with no room for resistance. If you don't admit defeat, you will be seriously injured or even killed. You know, on a stage like the Dynasty Martial Arts competition, even if you are killed, your death is in vain. After 6 people conceded defeat, the other 6 advanced. The remaining 8 people were still fighting fiercely there. 8 people, divided into 4 groups, fought together. Each of the 2 opponents were equally strong, and for a while they were evenly matched, making it difficult to determine the winner. Among them is Gao Yuhai of the Blackstone Empire. Now, Gao Yuhai relied on the 5th-grade spiritual fan in his hand to display his yuanli and the artistic conception of a heavy sword to fight fiercely with his opponent. His opponent was also a warrior at the 1st level of the Void Realm, also possessed a 5th-grade spiritual weapon, and his artistic realm was comparable to his, so his strength was no less than his. However, although their strengths are similar, at this point, what matters is combat experience and various skills. Buzz, 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 buzz. Gao Yuhai raised his hand, and the fifth-grade spiritual fan in his hand flew out, turning into a fan-shaped sword light all over the sky, covering his opponent. Wow! In the hand of Gao Yuhai's opponent, the fifth-grade spiritual spear also trembled suddenly, and the swift spear shadow swept out, following closely to meet the fan-shaped sword light in the sky. Boom, 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 boom. Every time the fifth-grade spirit sword swept out, a fan-shaped blade light was destroyed. Unfortunately, Gao Yuhai was obviously prepared. When the fan-shaped blade light was completely annihilated by his opponent and a smug smile appeared on his opponent's face, he attacked like thunder. Whoosh! Buzz! As Gao Yuhai's body moved, he seemed to have turned into a knife, slashing straight at his opponent. The spiritual fan in his hand made a sharp sound of breaking through the air. What a pity! This person's strength is no worse than Gao Yuhai's. Seeing Gao Yuhai defeat his opponent, Duan Lingtian shook his head and felt sorry for Gao Yuhai's opponent. Gao Yuhai's opponent was careless for a moment, which gave Gao Yuhai an opportunity to take advantage of him. Number 3 wins. At this time, the middle-aged man who was responsible for recording the battle records of Gao Yuhai and his opponent spoke coldly. At the same time, he had a pen and paper in his hand and began to take notes. Thank you. At the critical moment, Gao Yuhai, who knocked his opponent away with a fan, smiled and nodded to the defeated opponent. Thank you for your mercy. Gao Yuhai's opponent responded sincerely. Obviously, he also knew that if Gao Yuhai had not turned the spiritual fan in his hand into a fan in time to attack, he would have died under Gao Yuhai's fan now, and it would be impossible that he had only suffered internal injuries. Compared to Gao Yuhai's mercy, the other 6 people were completely different. The 6 men were evenly matched and fought fiercely. In the end, 2 people died and 1 was seriously injured. The other 3 winners were injured to varying degrees. Good. Seeing Gao Yuhai returning victoriously and bringing glory to the Blackstone Empire, King Yong nodded with satisfaction. This Gao Yuhai is a nice guy. Duan Lingtian watched Gao Yuhai take his seat and secretly praised him. Young talents who have drawn tokens 21 to 40, come on stage. At this time, the young man in white spoke again. It's my turn. Duan Lingtian smiled. Although he knew that he didn't need to fight at all in this battle, he still stepped into the air and joined the other 18 young talents. Immediately afterwards, the 10 middle-aged men began to call people to come to them. Token holder number 31 and token holder number 32, come to my side. When a middle-aged man's voice came, Duan Lingtian went straight over. Seeing that only Duan Lingtian was there, and the rest of the young talents were already in place, the middle-aged man frowned. Where's the other person? What's your number? Then, the middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, Number 32. Duan Lingtian replied. The middle-aged man nodded, then looked around and asked, Where is the owner of token number 31? As the middle-aged man opened his mouth, there was an uproar in the lower audience seats. Is there anyone else not going to play? It's okay to just go on stage and admit defeat. Exactly. Besides, number 32 is so young, he might be a pushover. Many viewers were talking about it. Whoosh. At this moment, a young man dressed in the uniform of a prison fighting arena staff flew past and arrived next to the middle-aged man in the blink of an eye. Sir, a talented young man from the Blackstone Empire has temporarily left. A representative from the Blackstone Empire has drawn a numbered token on his behalf. It is number 31. The young man explained the reason. The middle-aged man suddenly realized and immediately looked at Duan Lingtian. Number 32. Since the owner of token number 31 is not here, you will advance to the next round by a bye. Duan Lingtian, who had been prepared, was not surprised and flew away directly. Now, the audience in the lower seats finally understood what was going on. So that's how it is. This young man is very lucky. Yeah, Otherwise, given his age, he would have been eliminated in the first round. But now, he's directly advanced with a bye. Many viewers commented. From what he said, he didn't think Duan Lingtian was that strong. He just thought Duan Lingtian was extremely lucky. When Duan Lingtian returned, the young man in white spoke again. The martial arts competition begins. Then, the other 18 young talents started fighting fiercely. Some people admit defeat, while others fight to the death. Brother Duan actually got a bye? He's so lucky. In the upper-class audience seats, Feng Tianwu's pretty face was filled with shock. Young lady, this may not be just luck, Brother Duan. Mr. Kong shook his head. As a fellow inscription master, he naturally knew Duan Lingtian's remarkable ability in controlling mental power, and vaguely guessed that all this was intentional by Duan Lingtian. Feng Tianwu looked at Kong Lao with confusion. Young lady, don't forget, Brother Lingtian is also an excellent inscription master. As an excellent inscription master, with his mental power, he can easily see through the inside of those labeled tokens in advance and select the token he wants. Old Kong explained slowly. Grandpa Kong, are you saying that Brother Duan deliberately chose the token that would grant him a bye to advance? Feng Tianwu was no fool, and she reacted after being reminded by Kong Lao. Old Kong nodded. Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know that his little trick had been seen through by Kong Lao. Now he returned to sit beside Su Li, quietly looking at the sky above the prison fighting arena. There, 3 groups of 6 young talents were fighting fiercely. These young talents fought with all their might to win one of the last 30 spots in the first phase of today's Dynasty Martial competition. Boom. Soon, a young talent was seriously injured and his opponent won the final victory. Buzz. After a while, another young talent was killed and became a stepping stone for his opponent. For a moment, only the last 2 people were still fighting fiercely. The 2 have always been evenly matched, and it is difficult to tell who is the winner. However, up to now, they were the only 2 left battling in the sky above the prison fighting arena. The surroundings were silent and still, which also gave them a strange sensory experience. After a while, one of them became distracted. The consequence of being distracted before a battle is being defeated cleanly and neatly by another person. By this time, 10 more owners of tokens number 21 to 40 had advanced. The Dynasty Martial Arts competition continues. The young talents from the Blackstone Empire also came on stage one by one. Soon, Long Yun also came on stage. Long Yun's opponent is a talented young man with a look of arrogance. The moment this young talent laid eyes on Long Yun, he boasted, "Boy, you look only in your early 30s, right? If you know what's good for you, admit defeat and go home to drink your milk." The young talent's voice was loud and echoed throughout the entire quiet prison fighting arena. Suddenly, the strange looks of everyone present fell on Long Yun. It seems that this person's opponent is quite strong. You can tell from his arrogant words. If he doesn't have the skills, how dare he humiliate others like this? However, compared to his opponent, this person is indeed a few years younger. I have to say, he has quite a lot of composure. His expression has remained calm until now. A group of spectators in the lower seats were talking about this. Many people admire Long Yun's determination. Only in the middle-level audience seats where Duan Lingtian and the others were, the atmosphere was different. Almost everyone in this medium-sized audience seat had witnessed Long Yun's strength with their own eyes. Enter the 7th level of the Void Realm. The artistic conception of the sevenfold sword. So far, among the young talents of the major empires, there has not been a warrior who has entered the 7th level of the Void Realm or above, nor has there been a warrior who has comprehended this 7th level of artistic conception. It can be said that Long Yun is the strongest among the young talents currently on the field. However, this fact was now only known to the people in the audience where Duan Lingtian was. Long Yun's opponent was obviously someone from another audience seat. He had not previously noticed that Long Yun displayed the strength of the 7th level of the Void Realm, crushing Mo Xian, who was at the 5th level of the Void Realm, and forcing Mo Xian to give up participating in the Dynasty martial arts competition. For a moment, everyone in the audience looked at Long Yun's opponent with pity. Although Long Yun now appeared very calm, as if he did not hear the humiliation from his opponent. But they can realize it. Long Yun's heart must have been filled with anger for a long time. Just waiting for an opportunity, the anger will spread like wildfire. I just hope that you're not weak in strength as well as your mouth. Please don't be unable to take even one of my swords. Long Yun looked at his opponent and said lightly, "Joke." However, Long Yun's opponent snorted disdainfully, and then a tremendous amount of energy began to emanate from his body. Wow. Above the void, the shadows of 8 ancient horned dragons condensed into shape, demonstrating his cultivation level. 6th level of the Void Realm. All of a sudden, both the audience in the lower class seats and the many representatives of the Empire and young talents in the middle class seats exclaimed in surprise. You should know that before this, there has only been one young talent who has reached the 6th level of the Void Realm. The young talent defeated his opponent with just one move and advanced successfully. No wonder he was so arrogant just now, and even didn't hesitate to humiliate his opponent. Turns out, he's actually a Void Realm 6th level warrior. A warrior who has reached the 6th level of the Void Realm is already considered a rare powerhouse in today's Dynasty martial competition. In fact, it's almost certain that he will secure one of the final 30 spots. If his opponent doesn't admit defeat now, he'll be in trouble if a fight breaks out. I think his opponent will admit defeat soon. Many people in the lower and middle seats were whispering and couldn't help but speculate. Unfortunately, they soon realized that none of them had guessed correctly. Faced with the cultivation level displayed by his opponent, Long Yun's expression remained unchanged. He stood in the air, as still as a mountain, without the slightest intention of admitting defeat. The martial arts competition begins. And just at this moment, the young man in white spoke. However, at this moment, the other 18 young talents rarely took action. Their eyes fell on Long Yun and Long Yun's opponent. Boy, since you won't admit defeat, then I will send you to hell right now. Long Yun's opponent had an arrogant smile on his face. He moved his body and seemed to turn into a gust of wind, sweeping towards Long Yun. Above the void, 10 more phantoms of ancient horned dragons appeared. Whoosh. The 5th-grade spiritual weapon used by Long Yun's opponent was a rare giant hammer. The giant hammer swiftly broke through the air like a flying cannonball, as if carrying unparalleled divine power. Boom. The huge hammer fell towards Long Yun, as if it wanted to smash Long Yun into a meat patty. Long Yun is about to take action, Su Li said to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded. He also noticed the slight movement of Long Yun's hand. They are not even on the same level. Duan Lingtian shook his head. In his opinion, the upcoming battle was a foregone conclusion. However, not everyone shared Duan Lingtian's opinion. Many people believed that Long Yun would inevitably die. Now, even if he wants to admit defeat, it's probably too late. Sometimes, pride can kill people. Many people shook their heads, and some of them couldn't help but close their eyes. It's still uncertain who will go to hell. Suddenly, Long Yun's cold voice came out. Just when most people were stunned, Long Yun moved. Buzz. The Yuanli in Long Yun's body suddenly surged, and the next moment, the whole person seemed to have formed a giant sword, breaking through the air and easily dodging the opponent's hammer. Die! Immediately afterwards, with a light shout from Long Yun, he was already above his opponent's head. Buzz. The magic knife that appeared in Long Yun's hand at some point instantly emitted an extremely sharp blade light and fell down on the opponent's head with great force. Snap! Long Yun's opponent was cut into 2 pieces from top to bottom by his sword, and blood splattered all over the sky. Snort! At this moment, the young man in white who was in charge of hosting the Dynasty Martial Arts competition hummed softly, raised his hand, and the palm wind whistled, carrying an astonishing heat wave. It was the Yuanli that filled the sky, carrying a powerful state of fire that swept out through the air, burning the remains of Long Yun's opponent and the blood in the sky into ashes. The young man in white attacked as fast as lightning. The shadow of the ancient horned dragon in the void above his head dissipated before it could even take shape. Ninth level of the void realm, ninth level of the fire realm. Looking at the young man in white, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but gasp. If nothing unexpected happens, he will probably be one of the young talents in tomorrow's Dynasty Martial Arts competition. Duan Lingtian speculated secretly. The most important point, he is a member of the Han Dynasty royal family. This time, he must be among the 3 people recommended by the royal family. The more Duan Lingtian thought about it, the more certain he became. However, what the people present were paying attention to was different from what Duan Lingtian was paying attention to. One gaze after another fell on Long Yun, and from astonishment at first to horror later, they showed their surprise at Long Yun. Or perhaps, at that moment just now, they got to know Long Yun again. Enter the 7th level of the Void Realm. He is actually a warrior at the 7th level of the Void Realm. I really didn't expect him to be so strong. I thought he would be killed by his opponent with a hammer. It's totally unexpected. Who would have thought that he is actually a warrior of the 7th level of the Void Realm? His opponent was also unlucky. Perhaps he thought that as a 6th level Void Realm warrior, he could look down on everyone. Who knew that he would actually hit such a wall? I have to say, sometimes some things really are fate. Whether in the lower class or middle class seats, many people shook their heads and sighed. Number 73 wins. At this time, the middle-aged man who was responsible for recording Long Yun's battle record came back to his senses and announced, "Long Yun, advance." When Long Yun returned to the middle audience seats, many onlookers looked at him in awe. Of course, there are also people who hate him. In another middle-level audience seat, a representative who was obviously from an empire stared at Long Yun with his eyes wide open. He clenched his fists tightly, and his body began to tremble violently. His nephew was killed by this man. Although his nephew's death would be in vain in such an occasion, he still hated Long Yun so much that he wanted to tear him into pieces. At the same time, as Long Yun killed his opponent, the other 18 young talents also took action one after another. The first stage of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition is in full swing. After Long Yun, before Su Li came on stage, 3 warriors who had entered the 7th level of the Void Realm appeared. As for warriors who had entered the 6th level of the Void Realm, there were even more, about 20 people in total. Soon, Su Li came on stage. Su Li is the owner of token number 237. Call out. A sharp sword whistle was heard. Su Li's opponent, a young talent at the 5th level of the Void Realm, had his belt cut off by Su Li in an instant. He embarrassedly admitted defeat and left with his pants in his hand. Ha 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 ha. Unsurprisingly, the scene erupted in laughter. The originally serious atmosphere of the Dynasty Martial Arts competition was completely broken. At the same time, Su Li advanced. This young swordsman is incredibly powerful. With a single strike, he severed his opponent's belt. From beginning to end, the phantom of the ancient horned dragon, formed from the power of heaven and earth, in the void, dissipated before it could even coalesce into form. Although I can't judge his cultivation level based on the number of ancient horned dragon phantoms, but I suspect his cultivation level is at least above the 7th level of the Void Realm. That much is certain. If one is not at the 7th level of the Void Realm, the sword cannot be drawn so quickly. Another warrior who has reached the 7th level of the Void Realm. So far, 5 soldiers who have reached the 7th level of the Void Realm have appeared among the young talents of the major empires. There's still 1/3 of the young talents who haven't appeared yet. I think there will be 2 or 3 more Void Realm 7th level warriors to appear later. Amidst the lively discussions, Su Li returned to Duan Lingtian's side. Su Li. Duan Lingtian's eyes flickered, and a hint of confusion appeared on his face. Just now, although Su Li made a move, he did not use the slightest bit of the sword state of mind, which made Duan Lingtian even more curious. Su Li, who has entered the 8th level of the Void Realm, how many levels has he comprehended in the Sword Realm? Long Yun's Sword Realm of Intention has improved so quickly that it's shocking. Or perhaps Long Yun also has a Realm of Intention fragment in his hand, and it's a Sword Realm of Intention fragment. Thinking of Long Yun's current understanding of the Sword Realm, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but speculate. Apart from this, he couldn't understand why Long Yun's sword art could improve so quickly. If Long Yun has the fragment of the Realm of the Sword, Su Li must also have the fragment of the Realm of the Sword in his hand. In this way, Su Li's attainments in the Realm of the Sword should be better than Long Yun's attainments in the Realm of the Sword. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath. If this is true, the fate of Su Li and Long Yun is really shocking. Although this situation is not as good as his, it is not much different. At this moment, except for Duan Lingtian and Long Yun, the people in the same audience looked at Su Li again with completely different eyes. Prince Yong, I finally understand now why Long Yun of your Blackstone Empire has been so respectful of him from the very beginning. It seems his strength is indeed not weaker than Long Yun's. The representative of the Fufeng Empire, the old man surnamed Lu, glanced at Su Li, then looked at King Yong and sighed. Your Blackstone Empire is really full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Upon hearing this, the corners of Prince Yong's mouth twitched slightly. Judging from the current situation, Su Li's strength is indeed not weaker than Long Yun. Senior Lu, thank you for your praise. Long Yun and Su Li successively won glory for the Blackstone Empire, which made King Yong, the representative of the Blackstone Empire, feel proud. Now, when facing the representative of the Fufeng Empire, he felt superior to him. Now, I'm actually looking forward to the performance of another young talent from your Blackrock Empire who has caught Long Yun's attention. As he spoke, the old man's gaze fell on Duan Lingtian. Prince Yong looked over as well. Duan Lingtian. Now, even he couldn't help but tremble in his heart. It has to be said that the strength of Long Yun and Su Li really shocked him. But in his eyes, no matter in which aspect, Duan Lingtian was undoubtedly better than Long Yun and Su Li. Even now, seeing that Long Yun and Su Li had their own adventures, their strength increased greatly in the past year. But even so, he still preferred Duan Lingtian. Therefore, he was also looking forward to Duan Lingtian's performance. Duan Lingtian naturally noticed the old man's gaze and Prince Yong's gaze, but he didn't pay much attention to it. His gaze fell on the sky above the prison fighting arena, watching the duel between pairs of young talents. Time passes quietly. Soon, the first round of qualifying selection for today's Dynasty Martial Arts competition was coming to an end. Later, two young talents who had reached the 7th level of the Void Realm appeared. Boom. With a young talent at the 6th level of the Void Realm defeating another young talent at the 6th level of the Void Realm, the first round of selection officially ended. In this first round of selection alone, a total of 180 people were eliminated. Of course, there are also many people who are not convinced. Just like the 6th level Void Realm warrior who was defeated in the end. If he hadn't been unlucky and happened to meet another warrior who was stronger than him, and had reached the 6th level of the Void Realm, he would definitely have been among those who advanced. However, he is not in a hurry because he still has a chance. The first round of promotion selection ends here. In a quarter of an hour, the second round of promotion selection will continue, and another 90 people will be eliminated. The young man in white stood in the air above the prison fighting arena, his voice loud and clear, spreading out. A quarter of an hour. The 10 middle-aged men who were responsible for recording the battle results gathered together and began to unify the results and list the order of the opponents. and a group of young talents who advanced finally got a chance to catch their breath. Prince Yong, I was originally thinking that our Fufeng Empire could compete with your Blackstone Empire to see which side has more young talents standing to the end. But now it seems that there is no need for a comparison. The old man looked at King Yong, shook his head and sighed. Now, the situation is clear. The young talents of their Fufeng Empire are far inferior to those of the Blackstone Empire. In the Blackrock Empire, there are 2 young talents who are above the 7th level of the Void Realm, and another young talent who is suspected to be above the 7th level of the Void Realm. However, in their Fufeng Empire, there are only 2 young talents who have reached the 6th level of the Void Realm. There is no comparison with the other party. Upon hearing this, a group of young talents from the Fufeng Empire lowered their heads in shame, feeling that they had brought shame to the Fufeng Empire. On the other hand, on the Blackrock Empire side, whether they were eliminated young talents or not, they all stood up straight with bright smiles on their faces. In the Blackstone Empire, 3 of the 9 young talents were eliminated. In the Fufeng Empire, 5 of the 10 young talents were eliminated. Duan Lingtian was somewhat surprised by the Blackstone Empire's battle record. The second round of promotion selection begins. Soon, a quarter of an hour later, the voice of the young man in white came again, making everyone shudder and come back to their senses. As for the 10 middle-aged men who were responsible for recording the battle results, they have now taken their positions. All holders of tokens 1 to 40 who advanced in the first round of selection, please come up. The young man in white said in a loud voice. After the first round of selection, half of the owners of tokens number 1 to 40 were eliminated, leaving only 20 people. Just enough to complete 10 matches. On the other hand, on the Blackrock Empire side, 2 people came on the field this time. First, Gao Yuhai. Second, number 32. Duan Lingtian's eyes flickered as he glanced at the number on the token in his hand. He followed Gao Yuhai out of the audience seats and arrived above the prison fighting arena, where he joined the other 18 young talents. Token holder number 2 and token holder number 3, come to me. A middle-aged man spoke directly. Suddenly, Gao Yuhai, who had drawn token number 3, and another young talent came over. Obviously. In the previous first round of selection, number 1 and number 2 faced off, and number 2 won and advanced. When number 3 and number 4 compete, number 3 wins. And now, it is the turn of number 2 and number 3 to compete. Immediately afterwards, the other 9 middle-aged men spoke one after another. Token holder number 30 and token holder number 32, come here. As a middle-aged man from the east spoke, Duan Lingtian flew over. Following Duan Lingtian, another talented young man followed closely behind. He was obviously the owner of token number 30, and also Duan Lingtian's opponent in this match.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.